Good afternoon, friends, and welcome to this installment of Each One Teach One. Today I will be talking to you about how to teach yourself to play the guitar by reading guitar tabs. So to start off, we are going to talk about the basics of a guitar. So when we have a guitar, I have mine right here, and my first guitar I got, my mom gave me when I was probably 5 years old. And it was a very small guitar, a child-sized guitar that she got, I think, at a department store, and I got it for Christmas. And I just started playing and kind of playing around with that and doing small songs that I made up, like one, string versions of Happy Birthday or whatnot. But we had a family friend that introduced me a little bit later to the concept of tabs and learning how to play chords from tabs, which then allowed me to play songs. And once I learned how to play songs with chords, I thought that was quite a bit more exciting, and that kind of motivated me to play the guitar more and more often. All right, so the first step when you have your guitar is that you want to make sure it is tuned, because if you've ever heard a guitar that is not tuned, it does not sound great. In the worst case, it sounds quite terrible. So you want to make sure your guitar is nice and tuned up. I have a diagram here that demonstrates standard tuning. So standard tuning is what you're going to use in most songs that you're going to play. In a way to remember the notes in standard tuning, if you start here on the very right, this actually represents the highest string, the high E. Sounds like that. And this E over here on the left represents the low E, which is going to be a lower sound, but you'll realize that those are the same note in different octaves. So the notes in between are all different. So a way to remember this is E, everybody goes dancing after eating. So if you want to remember that from the highest string to the lowest string, there's a little saying, so you can remember the order of the notes. But to tune your guitar, first you need to find something that has a high E sound. So you can use the E key on a piano. You can hit the E key and then tune your string that way. What you have on the opposite end of your guitar are these metal pegs called tuning keys. And you turn those tuning keys to either loosen or tighten the string, which changes the pitch either sharper or flatter than what it is right now. And you can turn that key until the sound matches the high E sound that you're looking for. So you can use the high E, you can press an E on a piano and copy that sound, or you can go on YouTube and you can search for standard guitar tuning, and it will play for you an E for which to tune the rest of your guitar with. So if you hit the high E and you get that note correct, then what you can do is, we're going to go through this a little later, but all of these different sections on the guitar that are divided by these metal parts are called frets. So each fret is an area on the guitar where if you press anywhere on that fret, it's going to make a certain sound. So if I press on this fret here on my low E, it's going to make that sound. If I press a different fret, it's going to make a different sound. So each fret represents a different sound. Okay, so what we're going to do to tune our guitar is on our B string, we're going to go to the 5th fret, and we're going to make sure that that matches our high E sound. So that's not perfect. That actually sounds maybe a little flat to me, but it'll be fine for now. What you want to look out for is if that sounds like a whole different note, that's when you really want to make sure to tune up your guitar. So you're going to go from the 5th fret on your B string, then for your G string is the only string here that's going to go actually on the 4th fret. So we're going to match that. We're going to go back to our 5th fret for the D here. For the A, we're going to stay on the 5th fret. And for the low E, again, 5th fret. So you can hear that my guitar is in decent tuning shape. Is it perfect? It is not. And there's software that you can use to play the sound, and it will tell you exactly if it's sharp or flat, and you can make it perfect. but for our purposes today, that's going to be just fine. Okay, and then the second part, this is not totally necessary. Really, to play your guitar, you don't need anything but your guitar and yourself, but some accessories that are helpful. One is called a guitar pick, and this helps you strum the strings a little bit louder than you might be able to with just your fingers. And then the second tool is called a capo, and this is something that we can clip onto the neck of our guitar. So this part's called the neck. We can clip this onto the neck. It holds down all the strings at once in the same place on the same fret, so it makes all the strings higher. And usually what this is used for is to change the key. And what I use this for is to change the key so that I can sing along. So, for example, if there's a song that I'm playing, and when I try and sing it, my voice is too low, it puts my voice too low, I can put the capo on my guitar, and then it matches my voice a little bit better. So my voice tends to be a little bit higher than a lot of songs without the capo, so I can add the capo so that it's more in my range for singing. Okay, so those are just some common accessories you'll see. But again, you really don't need anything. You don't need anything but yourself and your guitar. All right, so now we've learned a little bit about the guitar. Our guitar is tuned. How do we read tabs? So tabs are actually quite simple. I think really beautifully simple. And they allow us to look at a diagram and figure out how to play a chord. So what you'll notice on the right-hand side of the screen here, this is the chord diagram for the chord D. And the D chord is very common in many songs, and it's something, if you pick up the guitar, that you'll play often. All right, so you might be looking at this diagram and say, okay, this doesn't completely make sense to me. There are three components to this diagram that you need to know for it to make sense. All right, so the first part is the frets. So if you look up here on the left, the frets are these sections here, horizontal sections that go across. So this here is your first fret, second fret, third fret, fourth fret, fifth fret. So when we're talking about frets, again, those are these sections in the guitar that are separated by these little metal posts. Okay, so this is the first fret, second fret, third fret, fourth fret. You'll notice there are some markings along the fretboard indicating different positions. So this is a marker that's on your third fret, marker that's on your fifth fret, seventh fret, ninth fret, so on and so forth. And what that helps you to do is to be able to look down at your guitar quickly. So you'll notice the fret markers are also on the side of the fretboard. So I can look down at my guitar quickly and know where the fifth fret is because there's a marker there. So I can move there pretty quickly if I need to know where that is. All right, so the frets in the diagram, again, are represented by this horizontal line. So what this is telling me, excuse me, in this D chord, there's nothing in the first fret. So none of my fingers are going to be on the first fret in this D chord. But what I'm seeing here, okay, there are two circles on the second fret. What does that mean? Okay, so these two circles, you'll notice have the numbers 1 and 2 in them. Let me move this over a little bit. I think that might be blocked by this. Okay, so you're going to look up here at the diagram that numbers all of the fingers. So you have your thumb, which you might occasionally use on the top of the fretboard if you're doing a chord that had, say, like a D with a low E being covered there. You might use your thumb, but most often you won't. So usually it's going to be your pointer, middle, ring finger, and occasionally, but again less often, your pinky. So your pinky is number 4. So what they're saying is that this D chord, you're going to use your pointer, middle, and ring fingers to play this chord. 1, 2, and 3. All right, now the strings, this is the other important part. When I'm looking at this D chord diagram, on the left, and this is just standard for guitar tabs here, on the left, this is going to be my low E. So the left side here is this low E. Then all the way over here on the right is my high E. So this goes low to high here. Okay, so that's how you're going to read this diagram. So this tells you what fret to put what finger on what string. So that's all the information you need to know to successfully play a chord. So let's try it. All right, so I'm going to I'm going to try and get my fretboard in view of the camera here. All right, so I'm looking at my D chord diagram, and what I'm noticing is there's X's on top of my low E and A strings. Okay, so what does that mean? That means in this chord, I don't need to play those strings. So I'm going to either start my strum below those strings, or I can use one of my fingers to dampen them, which sounds like this. Okay, so it's when, if you hold down a string, it makes a noise, but if you don't hold it down or hold it down only a little bit, it doesn't make a noise. Okay, so we're going to dampen that. So I'm going to put my fingers in position. Okay, so first fret, nothing there. Second fret, first and second fingers are going to be in position there. And my third finger is going to go on the third fret on my B string. So this is a D, and it sounds like this. Okay, so I just use this diagram to place my fingers and play this chord. Okay, so it's really quite simple, and you can use this type of diagram to play any chord, to learn any chord. So you might be wondering, well, how can I use these diagrams to learn a whole song? Okay, well, what I've done here is I've pasted one of my favorite songs. I love Tom Petty, and I love this song. And it's actually one of the first songs that I learned how to play, because while it sounds really great, it's actually only 3 chords. So it's really easy. And it's only, there are 3 simple chords. So we have the D chord, which we just learned. We have the G chord, which is the second chord there, which is going to, following the diagram, look like this and sound like this. Oops, sorry. And then we have another modified version of the A chord, which only has 2 fingers on the fretboard, and that sounds like this. So I will say, usually when I play this song, I usually just use a regular A chord, which bar means to hold down more than one string with one finger. So I usually bar the 3, let's see, my B, G, and D strings, I usually bar those on the 2nd fret like this to play an A. Okay. So it sounds like that. All right, so I'm gonna play the just beginning portion of this song for you. She's a good girl, she loves her mama, she loves her Jesus, and America too. She's a good girl, yeah, she crazy about Elvis. She loves horses and a boyfriend too, yeah, yeah. It's a long day when you're living in Reseda. Nails are freeway, running through the yard. I'm a bad boy, 'cause I don't even miss her. I'm a bad boy for breaking her heart. And now I'm free. I'm free for